looking for ways to get into development. And so I want you to hear from people who have started and grown in the development space, how we've all done it. Ashley, can I have you too? And I want you guys to have an opportunity to ask lots of questions if you have them. This is conversational, so you can ask questions as we're here talking. But the first thing I will do is allow each of these ladies to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about who they are, what they do.
Don't make me start, huh? Alright, my name is Ashley Jennings. I'm from North Carolina. Most of my developments is in Shelby, North Carolina. I own a construction firm. I have my own modular dealer license. So we do both modular and site-built construction as well. I have my own real estate brokerage as well. So I've been doing it now a little bit over 12 years. I bought my first property when I was 19. So I've been investing for quite some time.
So again, my name is Desiree Lee Carson. I'm in land acquisition and pre-development. I started off in real estate about, don't go so far now. Okay. That's the mom in me, so I am a mom. I started off in real estate about 10 years ago in pre-underwriting and processing services, and worked a little bit for most of the residential mortgage lending companies, putting together investor packages, and then I moved over and worked for the SBA on the commercial side. And after that, I was a leader. I was the director of processing for a commercial real estate lender. And so my specialty and my niche and skill is basically understanding how to pre-underwrite and make any deal pretty much bankable.
Perfect. And my name is Brittany Rose. I started I've been in real estate for almost 20 years now. Started interning at title companies, worked for builders, worked for developers, then did fix and flip. Quickly figured out I do not like abandoned houses. So I was like, okay, that's not for me. During that fix and flip era, I raised a bunch of money before I even knew what raising money was, how to do it legally, how to do it correctly. Had a partner that also was equally novice, did not know what he was doing. We crashed and burned hard, and that led me to creating Wire, because I really felt like if I had a community of people around me that could give me advice, give me support, who would pick up the phone when I had a question, who would help me, find financing, raise money, etc., that my trajectory would have been a lot smoother than it ended up being. So then a few years later, I moved to Houston because we had a development summit here, and I kind of walked out the doors. And actually, Vanessa, that's the first time I met you, was at that development summit. And I was like, I come from DC where everything is 10 times more expensive, and I was like, if I can turn around in a circle and find 10 deals, like there's so much land, there's so much opportunity, and coming from the East Coast, there's a little bit of a faster pace, and that gives me an advantage in this market. So I moved to Houston and started a development project, raised the money, found a business partner, did the deal, sold it to the railroad. Actually, never went vertical, just sold it to the railroad, but ended up making investors up to 20% return. So I was excited and happy and proud of that. And then I was like, okay, well, what's next? And now I'm gonna be raising again and doing it all over. So you have a wide range of information and experience on the stage, and I want to point out again that you can raise your hand and ask a question at any time. But at first, I'm going to start with what your first project was, and if that also happens to be a crash and burn story, even better. Because I want y'all to hear the not so smooth parts of real estate and real estate development. So we'll start with you, Ashley. AJ.
My first one was bad. Like I told you, I do everything in my hometown. So the way I do mine, because I started out wholesaling, basically flipping, then I transitioned over to development. So my very first fix and flip I had several under contracts. I like to try to control my comps. So I would fix and flip houses on the same street or across the street from each other. So I had 3 in the same community. And of course, I was a lot younger then, I was one of those people, I'm gonna go big or go home, which was a terrible idea. And at the time, I was married, I'm not anymore, so that says a lot. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I did it. I was currently working a 9 to 5. The crazy part is I never lived in North Carolina. My residence was always in Tennessee. When I was in corporate America, because I have several college degrees, when I was in corporate America, what it taught me was how to hire people well. If I don't do anything, I can hire really well. I mean, I can hire somebody literally, if I was project manager, it's the same person that was a project manager 10 years ago. Every time I did not listen to her, because I would always hire somebody smarter than me. But then I turn around and say, oh, I'm gonna do the opposite. And every time I did the damn opposite, I paid for it. And she's never even today, we had a big issue yesterday, she said, I'm not gonna say I told you so. I'm like, well, hell, you just said it. But I've learned that part. If she tells me or she advises me from down to my CPA to my legal team, if they tell me to do something, I do it that way. I bought this house and it was normal in my market, even now still today, I buy the same house, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, under 1,200 square feet. I do like to make it functional. I install double vanity and it's a brick ranch. I know exactly every single cost, from the drywall sheets, the roof and the shingles, how much I need, what that looks like, all the way from the ducts for the HVAC and the actual unit. So I know every single cost because that's my buy box. Anytime I didn't stick to my buy box is when I had the problem. My second flip, I bought a damn Cape Cod. Why? Why? Because I'm thinking I'm just gonna do it all. Terrible. I never did that again. Had several GCs that took my money. They didn't understand the layout. It was almost like a Cape Cod, almost like a dollhouse. And it's a very specific type of home. Somebody has to be actively looking for that type of home. I got lucky. A random guy from Atlanta was moving with his family to Shelby, which I'm like, where the hell do you find Shelby and who's coming from Atlanta? But he wanted a Cape Cod. He ended up buying it, but I lost over $50,000. One of the biggest things that I did wrong that I've learned now is when I put it on the market, at that point I had 3 GCs that went terribly wrong. Every time you hire another person, the cost is going to increase. It's almost inevitable. There's something they're going to ask and shit, it's going to always be something. So I ended up going through 3 GCs. At that point, I'm emotionally invested. So that was the big thing. And my emotions started playing, and your emotions don't lie in investing. You have to still be conscious of what's happening. Nonetheless, I dropped the asking price. I initially had listed it for $270,000. I dropped the asking price 4 times. By the time I had dropped it, it was well over $50,000. So I saw the DSCR guy out there earlier, and I was sitting here like, man, that's one hell of a lesson I learned. I'm a realtor, I own my own firm. So as it's on the market, and you're dropping that asking price, when I wanted to pivot and get into that rental piece, well, I couldn't because I had dropped it so much, my 75% was going to require me to bring cash to close. Well, I told y'all I had already lost money. And I think my cash to close would have been like $15,000. And I already lost $50,000. So that was a huge lesson that I learned, because the most times, you got to get an appraisal for DSCR. I had fixed and flipped it, it was done. When I was ready to try to see if I could pivot to DSCR loan, I had dropped it so much when the appraisal came out there. What are they looking at whenever they appraise it? The market. From who? Realtors. So in his mind, if you had already dropped it, you're the realtor, you know the market, what does that mean? If I went from 280 to 230, what is he going to appraise it at? 230. 75% to 230 when I already owed the lender, I think a little bit over $195,000, y'all do the math. That was the biggest lesson I learned. So now when I put something on the market, like the CPA guy set up here, the tax guy, when I put something on the market, I'm very clear on what my strategy is. I'm either going to sell it, I'm going to rent it. Or like now we're moving to the pad split pieces. So this has been now, 7 years later. So now, of course, now I'm a lot different. I also don't list my property more by myself. That removes my emotions out of it because I am the investor. I am the biggest investor of my stuff. So now I don't have that caveat. I put it out there, let somebody else list it, because I have brokers under my firm, And that takes away the emotions and all that extra stuff. Make sense?
Right? I just want to make sure no questions. All right. Then. Yep. Oh.
How did you get out of that, I know, with you losing that 50K, that range, like, how did you come up with that? What was the next thing that you did after that? After you sold, you had that loss, what was next?
Well, I do have a fund as well, now I do. I did not have a fund back then, we were just doing notes. So I've always been extremely transparent with my investors. They understood what I was doing, although I was extremely new. My biggest investor is my best friend. And she was also a basketball coach when I was younger. So she's always been the type, you're gonna push to the end regardless. So mentally, I've always been wired that way. You push anyway. I never had a project I didn't finish. Regardless of the money that's lost, you still have to keep going. I let it emotionally, does it still, yeah, because I come from nothing. So I still come from that poverty background. Of course, does it look differently now? Yes. But just getting out of that mentality of, I think the biggest thing I've always told myself is don't be a slave to money. It's like a revolving door. It's going to come back at some point. Just keep pushing. It's really the biggest advice I can give.
What was the next deal that you did after that, and was it as bad?
No, it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, brick ranch under 1,200 square feet. So yeah, I stuck to my box, and so I learned that lesson.
Okay, so for me, I started off in Florida, and I think I took on 2 deals at the same time, and the lesson that I learned, and I'll just say, the lesson that I learned is not to trust anybody. And I know that sounds crazy, but you verify everything. You trust very little, and you verify everything. So one of the properties that, I'll tell you the bad one first, is that people will go around you, right? If you don't have things that are actually locked under contract, that that there's certain amounts of time that you don't have what you need to have to get that contract, and you have control over that property, that's where you can really get. So I lost like $11,000 in this transaction with someone going around me and going straight to the seller, offering them a little bit more, letting them know what I was getting out of the deal, because I'm a fan of double closing. So no one knew, the seller nor my end buyer knew what I was getting in the middle, and they basically went around me. So that was a great lesson for me. The other one was, it was a gentleman who lived out in California. I lived in California, born and raised, Long Beach, California, and me and him, we got on the phone. Although there was a big cultural difference, he was a Filipino older gentleman, and he felt like everybody who came around was sales tactics, and they weren't good people and all these things. And it was really the fact that I helped him FaceTime with him. I helped him learn how to get his DocuSign done. I was very personable with him. I wanted to know why he needed the money, why he was selling the land now, and all these things. And build, like Vanessa saying, you have to really build those relationships, because then it was like nobody could have come in that. I also did the paperwork that time. I did the paperwork first before I started shopping it and marketing it. But it was a really different experience when I was able to, at the end of that, the sale that we did, I'm talking to him afterwards, and he's like, you don't understand what this means to me. I am getting older. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here, but I get to go to the Philippines for 6 months to see my family. So the fact that you were able to take care of me when so many people were looking over me, and actually I got my money back plus more, so I think that was one of the things that I was able to learn and implement quickly, because both of those deals came at the same time, and it was a great pivoting situation.
Well, mine was probably 2017. I had a partner, and he was working on this fix and flip. It was his first one, and it seemed to be going very well. And I had, always wanted to get into real estate. I owned a cheerleading gym at this time. I owned a cheer gym for 15 years. And so I was doing that, and I was like, well, I'm a good marketer. I can raise money. Like, we can invest together and do all the things. But I made several critical mistakes. One was no documentation. Like, we didn't have anything down. There was no agreement. And now, mind you, I was much younger. I was in my early 20s, so I didn't know nothing from nothing. I just gave him the money and was like, okay, use this for the project and give me the money back, right? So that's first mistake, paperwork, obviously. Second mistake was I didn't have a team. He didn't have a team. I didn't know what was supposed to happen, what was not supposed to happen. And when I would come to the table and be like, this is not a good idea, like all my research, all the books I've read, everything that I've studied says this is not the way you do this, he would be like, well, it's my company, it's my project, I'm gonna do it this way, right? So that was the second thing, getting into business with somebody who really did not know what they were doing, and then not having the counsel around, to help us pivot or adjust or anything like that. So those are probably my biggest mistakes that first go around. And then, third is over improving. You need to understand the market. You need to build to the market. You do not go in a neighborhood where everything is 1,000 square feet and build a 5,000 square foot house. You need to build what sells in that market, and based on the comps, you need to make sure that you're building within budget, because you can make it the most beautiful, wonderful house in the world, chances are you're not going to get your money out of it. So unless that's your personal house and you plan on living there forever, you need to build to the market, not what you want. So those would probably be my top lessons learned. Okay, so I have to keep this semi-brief. I just wanted you to have an opportunity to meet these women and hear what they do. Are there any questions before I ask another one? Okay, so with the current market and with all the administration changing, things happening, what are you seeing in the market and where are you taking your business?
Okay, so for me, I currently have over 200 doors that I'm managing. My goal in first quarter was to have 40 deals done. Right now, we are a little bit at 15. I did slow us down. My goal was to by the fourth quarter to have my 40 homes ready to go vertical. What I ended up doing was I have some insight to transition into my modular and do modular homes. They comp the same way as any other site built home. So what I ended up doing was, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, if it's taking me 6 months to build these site built homes, because my modern homes is what I specialize in the most. They're a little bit under 1,300 square feet, 32.5 baths. They take 6 months. My modular dealer and my manufacturer, they can have my modular homes, my foundation done, the unit placed, ready in 7 weeks. So that gives me the market time I need, because of course they're sitting on the market longer because the rates are higher. Even if I have interest-only payments, because right now we have all my payments are deferred for all the bills I have. We don't have any interest-only payments, so that's a plus. So even my lender partners, working with them and being strategic on what that looks like. I don't want any interest-only payments. This market does not support that. There's not a really clear way in my mind to support that, because you don't really know when you're going to be able to sell it. They're sitting a lot longer. So that's kind of my strategy. I went into just a modular. I already have my license. I already have the team. So just transitioning them over to that, understanding what that looks like in regards to scope of work. That changed, where you just pay 20% up front, but then the actual unit is set. So then you have 80% because it's ready at that point. The only thing you have to do with modular is tie in, place your unit, your front porch, your back patio, and you move on from there. So even our scope of work's changed and how we pay our trades, because of course I'm not giving anybody 50% and 50%. We had to, of course, have team meetings and discuss what we want that to look like now. And I did that early on. I was having those discussions in the first quarter. We were already witnessing what the world was doing in regards to tariffs and the conversations. So we immediately started having our calls. We meet every week anyway, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Today they all met without me. Just pretty much debrief the week, and they'll follow back up with me Monday and fill me in on everything. So just meeting consistently, pivoting, being okay with that pivot, being transparent with our investors because they need to know what that pivot looks like. Having systems in place, we use what's called company cam. photos, notes, every time we meet, it's in there, you know, it's very clear. If there's any questions, we have a link for a calendar for our investors to be able to hit us and be able to talk. I no longer do those direct conversations with my investors because it's overwhelming, unless there's an issue and I need to step in. But other than that, that's really the transition we made.
Love it.
Right now, from what I see in the market, I think that things are moving kind of west and northwest. Kind of like going towards the Berkshire area, a little bit outside of Katy, going up northwest area. I think it's like 290 over that area, like Magnolia, that type of area. So I do see the market shifting there. As far as for what I do in the pre-development space, that's where I'm going to do my marketing at, and start kind of transitioning, because people are overbuilding in certain areas now, right? So they're going to start transitioning and trying to figure out where it is. And I think that when you're in land, you're going places that people aren't necessarily looking at right now. And so that's kind of my goal. Then also expanding on my pre-underwriting services and then my portfolio management services. So I think that that's where I'm going to be transitioning to in my business. I'm also running a special pre-underwriting services right now. Yeah.
Explain what pre-underwriting is.
Okay, so because I was in processing and pre-underwriting, it means that I will review and make sure that you don't do things like overbuild in a certain area. A lot of times what I would do, and then understanding what pieces of your puzzle that are needed. So if you don't know what they're looking for when you're going to the bank, and I think we talked about this before, having experiences, how they underwrite those experiences, how you might need operating agreement, or how you might need your business set up. Because I did commercial underwriting and I did also commercial real estate underwriting, I kind of am able to see things from a different perspective to make sure that when you do walk into the bank, you're not really having an iffy situation, or you're not worried about the fact if you will be able to go vertical with the type of product that you have.
So you put together their packages.
Their investment packages.
Okay, last question are words of advice for anybody who is getting into development.
Away or make one. And it's great because I'll give you all the ones I say to my kids. So I ask my kids all the time, what do we know about pain? Like they fall, they get hurt, and I say, what do we know about pain? And they respond, it goes away. So, and y'all know how many times I saved me tears, temper tantrums, they got up off the floor quickly. Like they was really hurt, but because they know that pain goes away, they can get up. And so I say that to you guys too, is like, if you know that pain goes away, because that's all it can do, right? Is that you take that lesson and you run with it. When you get the lesson from that, you just do it better the next time. And I think authenticity is really key as well. I love that y'all were able, like all of the speakers who came up here today, thank you guys as well, because you guys were up here really transparent. Y'all got to see the real Vanessa today. Ooh, I was so excited about that. She, like, it's one reason why I love her. She's funny, she's hilarious. Like, and it's easy for her to make relationships, right, when you're authentically yourself. So, like, I say to do that, and then have somebody you can also be vulnerable with, and you can share the fact, like, I did this wrong. I messed up in this way. I trusted this girl or this man, Lord. And now I'm in this storm that I can't tell other people about. You gotta have that support system where you can be vulnerable, where you can learn from them, where you know that they're gonna support you, have your best interests at heart, and then keep your secrets your secret. And that is, I think, the three most important things, right? Find a way or make one, authenticity,
Pain goes away.
pain goes away, right? And then keep your girlfriends.
Well, she said a lot of mine too. You said somebody great. I piggyback off of yours. So for me, authenticity is huge. If you follow me on social media, you know why. That's a really big part for me. Masculine presenting, being a woman, I'm not wearing no heels to these events. Y'all look, y'all to get some basketball shorts. But so for me, it's like just showing up, being my best. When I show up, I want to be my best self, and my best self is being what makes me comfortable, and I'm gonna be how I am. What comes out of my mouth is what's the most important piece. People value that information, that knowledge, that expertise. So just being able to sit in that and be comfortable being that person you are. When I got into development, it was a little more difficult for me, especially being one of very few black realtors where I'm from. We intentionally don't put our face on our signs most of the time to avoid. We just want to get somebody on the phone first. So it was very difficult for me to get listings. And that was one of the hardest. I get buyers, but I cannot get listings for nothing. So to make away what she's talking about, I decided, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna create my own leads. I'm gonna buy my properties, fix and flip them, I'll sell them, then I am creating a market for myself, because now I can market my own face, my own firm, because I can do it and own it as I want to and what I'm putting out there. Now I'm building in several neighborhoods. I own full streets, my own subdivision. Now you have no choice because I made that space for me, and now you have to see. So creating those opportunities for yourself and not being afraid to do that is the biggest thing.
Okay, mine would be community. If you're here, you know why. I cannot tell you how blessed I have been by our community, our network of women here in Houston and all around the world, how it has transformed my life, how it has leapfrogged me past obstacles and challenges, because it really is about getting in relationship with people, building with people, adding value to people, having people who will come to your aid, who will pick you up, who will cry with you, who will figure it out with you. There is nothing more important than that. Our first speaker, Kenneth, this morning, he said, I can give you $1 million and you're still not going to know what to do with it. I can give you perfect credit. You're still not going to know what to do with it. Just going to turn around and mess it up, right? Having a community has been everything. It has changed my life. And I think it is the most important thing for anyone in this room. And then the second thing I would say is build your CRM. And it doesn't have to be on fancy software, it can be your phone. I have this app called Reach, and I put everybody that's in Houston real estate in that group, and I go through and I text everybody when I'm doing something, when there's an opportunity, when they should know about something, and I check on people. I say hi. I ask them what they need. I really invest in my relationships, and I think if you do that, you make that a priority, it'll change your life. All right, we have one more speaker. I know it's 4:07, but let's give these ladies a round of applause.